Hey, it's Dan Wormby with Keller Williams, West Ventura County. I'm out here at my open house for a cute little beach town bungalow in Midtown, and I thought I'd take a second to talk with you guys about what effect the coronavirus is having on the housing market. So, obviously, the coronavirus is continuing to create some issues in the global economy and the domestic markets, but so far there haven't been any revisions in the estimates for the California housing market for 2020. However, there are a few things I think we need to think about when it comes to coronavirus and the housing market. Here are the top 10 potential impacts to keep an eye on in the near and the short term. Number one, forecasts have been downgraded, but few economists are actually calling for a recession yet. Last week, the IMF cut its forecast for global economic growth by 0.1%, but they are still calling for an economic expansion in 2020, just at a slower pace. Wells Fargo and a few others are forecasting growth of about 10 to 20 basis points for the domestic economy. That's slower than their pre-coronavirus forecast, but it's still positive growth. Number two, mortgage rates are probably going to remain low or even drop. The Federal Reserve issued an emergency 50 basis point cut to their target interest rates, and guidance actually suggests that the Fed may be open to future reductions. This should help reduce the cost of borrowing and make housing more affordable, which should help to offset some of the problems caused by rising uncertainty. Three, speaking of uncertainty, buyers may be discouraged by recession risk. So is it still a good time to buy? Well, this week, mortgage rates fell to an all-time low of just 3.13%. That's down from 3.8% at the start of the year, and that's a significant cost savings over the life of a 30-year loan. For buyers who can afford their monthly payments, economic uncertainty that's driving rates lower provides an opportunity to capitalize on significantly reduced borrowing costs. Short-run risks to the economy exist, but could be offset by long-run benefits of lower interest rates. Number four, financial market volatility could reduce demand for luxury homes, but also create potential opportunity for luxury home buyers. The recent issues in the financial markets have already impacted household wealth, and this could reduce demand for luxury homes. However, with less luxury buyers, there could be opportunities for deals for buyers who stay in the market. Those buyers could see investing as a kind of a buffer against losses in the financial markets as well. Five, demand from foreign home buyers could be reduced in the short term. Reduced economic growth in China could stifle demand for real estate this year. However, foreign buyers represented just 3.9% of home sales last year, so impacts statewide should be pretty muted compared to 6 years ago when foreign buyers represented about 8% of the market. And keep in mind, because domestic buyers typically finance a much larger percentage of their purchase, low rates could push more domestic demand. That would help offset the impact as well. Six, foreign home sellers may face closing delays. Because the embassy and a lot of consulates are closed or have limited hours in China, there may be some difficulty in getting a notarized deed to the property that escrow will accept and the title will insure. So it's important to get the deed early in the transaction. If sellers are currently in the US, they need to try and get that done before returning to their home country. If you're a foreign seller, you should really think about adding a contingency allowing you to cancel if you can't get a notarized deed. Seven, new home construction could slow further and the supply is already pretty tight. Many of the inputs to the building industry are sourced from China, and as coronavirus disrupts these supply chains, the cost of materials may go up, or they could become harder to find, which will increase cost of construction and potentially slow it down further than it already has been in 2020. Eight, lower rates and fewer homes constructed could drive up prices. Lower interest rates should improve affordability, and when you combine that with the fewer new homes being built because of those potential supply chain issues, that could put upward pressure on home prices. Unsold inventory is already at low levels, and reduced construction means that's pretty likely to continue, especially if those buyers respond to lower interest rates. 9, the housing market outlook is unchanged for now. The situation remains fluid. Conditions could get worse depending on the severity and duration of the outbreak, but if the current forecasts are realized, the effects of lower interest rates should help offset the effects of the slower economy and increased uncertainty. And this could increase home prices. Number 10, the rebound will take longer than it did with SARS in 2000. In 2000, the impact of SARS started to fade around 6 months once they got the outbreak under control. But unlike with coronavirus, SARS didn't have as much of an impact on either consumer spending or the financial markets. The size of the impacted population is also much larger with coronavirus, which suggests that the eventual recovery will play out over a longer period of time. So, wrapping up, all in all, it's clear that coronavirus will have an impact on the housing market in 2020, but it's also clear that it's definitely not time to panic. The effect of lower interest rates is going to help offset some of the problems in the housing market, and growth estimates have been revised down, but only by tens of basis points, not hundreds of basis points. The situation is still up in the air, so if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out, and I'd be happy to have a chat with you about it.